He lives in a world built for noise. A world where silence is treated like failure. Where the ones who speak loudest are crowned wise, and those who stay unseen are mistaken for ghosts. But he learned something most people never do. He realized that you don't need to be seen to matter. You just need to move in ways the world can't ignore, even when it's not looking. You never see him posting, never see him reaching for attention, never begging for validation in the endless scroll of faces. He's not online arguing about politics or flexing his meals or documenting his happiness in filtered proof. He's somewhere else. In the quiet. Watching. Building. Waiting. He's the man who doesn't need social media to win. And that's what makes him dangerous. Because in a world where everyone is shouting, silence has become power. And the one who can resist the noise owns the game. You've met people like him, even if you didn't realize it. The ones who never announce their goals, who don't tell you what they're working on. They vanish from your feed for months, maybe years, and then one day, there they are. They've built something unshakable. They've won a battle you didn't even know they were fighting. There's a strange calmness to them. You can feel it in the way they move, the way they speak. They're not in a hurry. They don't need your likes, your applause, your reassurance. Their validation lives somewhere deeper, inside the silence that most people run from. But what kind of mind survives that silence? What kind of person can live unseen in a world built on being seen? The answer is not arrogance. It's not rebellion. It's discipline. Because when you take away the mirrors of social media, you're left with the truest reflection of all. The one that stares back at you when no one is watching. Most people can't handle that. They don't realize how addicted they've become to small doses of recognition. The dopamine hit of a heart, a comment, a notification, tiny digital affirmations that say you exist. But take those away, and you find something terrifying, the void. The silence where you must build your own worth from scratch. The man who doesn't need social media to win, he's been there. He's walked through that void. He knows that silence isn't emptiness. It's concentration. It's the moment when the noise dies and the truth begins to speak. He understands something fundamental about human nature. The moment you stop performing, you start becoming. There was a time he used to post like everyone else. Small victories, motivational quotes, proof that he was trying. But somewhere along the line, he realized he was playing a game that could never be won. Every post demanded another. Every high faded into the need for a higher one. He saw what it was doing to people. Turning ambition into anxiety, turning creativity into competition. He watched people measure their self-worth by numbers that could vanish overnight. Followers, likes, views, metrics that don't feed the soul but drain it. Quietly, invisibly, completely. And so, one day, he stopped. He disappeared. At first, it felt like death. The silence was unbearable. The absence of feedback felt like rejection. But then, slowly, the noise faded, and in that stillness, something ancient returned: focus. The ability to think without an audience, to act without applause, to create without showing. That's where his rebirth began. Because when you stop living for attention, you start living for truth. He started reading again, not for quotes to post, but to understand. He worked not to prove, but to improve. He failed without witnesses, and because no one was watching, he learned faster. His motivation shifted from external validation to internal mastery. And that shift, that subtle, invisible pivot, is what separates those who perform from those who build. Social media rewards visibility, but power grows in the unseen. The man who doesn't need to post his progress understands a brutal truth. If people can see everything you're doing, they can predict you. If they can predict you, they can control you. He learned that mystery creates leverage, silence creates space, and space creates power. He doesn't need to announce his every move because he's not chasing status, he's building substance. He knows that in an age where everyone's trying to be famous, the real advantage is to be forgotten until it's too late. He's not hiding from the world. He's studying it. While others are arguing in comment sections, he's listening. While they're chasing trends, he's mastering principles. While they waste hours performing, he spends minutes acting with precision. His presence isn't digital, it's psychological. He exists in the minds of people who underestimated him. And when he returns, he doesn't need to explain himself. Results speak louder than updates. There's a reason ancient warriors trained in silence. A reason monks took vows of quiet. A reason the most dangerous leaders say less than they know. Because words are a form of energy, and the more you waste on noise, the less you have for creation. He has learned to conserve that energy, to channel it inward, to turn silence into fuel. Every moment people spend performing, he spends observing. Every time they check who liked them, he checks who he has become. This is not just detachment, it's evolution. Because in a digital world, withdrawal is not a weakness. It's resistance. To unplug, to step back, to choose obscurity, it's the new rebellion. The man who doesn't need social media isn't a ghost. He's a survivor. He's seen what the attention economy does to the human spirit. He's seen how it rewires the brain to crave validation over peace. How it turns curiosity into comparison. How it feeds ego and starves identity. He refuses to participate in that experiment. Instead, he's building something real, quietly, brick by brick, away from the crowd. He knows that power doesn't need proof, that success doesn't need witnesses, and that greatness rarely announces itself. And when people finally notice him, they'll say it happened overnight. They won't see the years of obscurity, the lonely days, the private struggles, the silent nights spent fighting demons no one clapped for. That's the price of freedom, invisibility. The ability to walk through the world without needing its applause. The man who doesn't need social media isn't disconnected from humanity, he's rediscovering it. He's relearning how to feel without filters, how to think without influence, how to connect without performance. He's found intimacy again, in conversations that aren't recorded. He's found peace again, in moments that aren't shared. He's found himself again, in the silence that others fear. And when he looks around, he sees a generation addicted to mirrors, people reflecting themselves through screens, forgetting what it means to be whole without reflection. He doesn't judge them. He understands, because he was one of them once. And he knows the hardest part of leaving isn't losing the audience. It's facing who you are when the audience is gone. The truth is, social media doesn't create narcissism, it reveals it. It amplifies what's already there. The hunger to be seen, the terror of being forgotten. But he learned that being unseen isn't death. It's freedom. When you no longer need to be seen, you can finally see. You start noticing the world again. The way rain sounds on glass. The way time stretches in quiet rooms. The way your thoughts form before they're interrupted by a notification. You begin to see people for who they are, not who they pretend to be. You start to feel again, without the pressure to turn feeling into content. That's the secret psychology of the man who doesn't need social media to win. He's not rejecting the world. He's reclaiming his mind. He's teaching himself to feel boredom again, because boredom births ideas. He's training his attention like a muscle, because in a world where attention is currency, focus is wealth. He's rediscovering the difference between connection and exposure. And slowly, he becomes untouchable. Not because he hides, but because he no longer needs to perform. He doesn't measure his worth by visibility, but by clarity. He doesn't chase relevance. He builds resilience. And when the world burns itself out on attention, he'll still be standing, calm, collected, unseen. Because he's not addicted to the noise anymore. He's mastered the silence. And that silence, that rare, heavy, disciplined silence, is where all true power begins. It's not that he hates social media. He understands it too well. He knows it's not a tool anymore. It's an environment. An invisible force shaping thought, desire, and emotion. And the only way to see the water is to step outside of it. He stepped out. And when he did, he began to notice how much energy he used to waste on appearance. How much of his mind was rented out to the opinions of strangers. Now, he uses that energy differently. He builds, creates, learns, moves. His life is smaller, but deeper, quieter, but fuller. His traded reach for reality, attention for autonomy, illusion for insight. He doesn't need to be followed, because he's no longer lost. He's discovered a paradox. When you stop chasing validation, people start wondering who you are. When you stop speaking, your silence becomes intriguing. When you stop showing, your results become the only thing left to see. He has become what everyone secretly wants to be, free. And that freedom terrifies people, because it means giving up the very thing they think gives them power, being seen. But being seen isn't power. It's exposure. And in exposure, you lose control. The man who doesn't need social media to win knows this. He's learned that the fewer people who know your next move, the harder it is for anyone to stop it. He's learned that when you detach from the crowd, you start to hear your own mind again. And that's where all empires begin, in thought. He knows that every empire, every revolution, every transformation, begins quietly. Not in the spotlight, not in the noise, but in solitude. In the still corners of a room, where a mind dares to think a thought no one else has the patience to follow. The man who doesn't need social media to win isn't anti-technology. He's anti-dependence. He refuses to let his self-worth be auctioned for clicks. He refuses to let algorithms decide who he should become. He doesn't reject connection. He redefines it. He connects in whispers, not broadcasts. In real conversations that leave echoes, not empty notifications. When he meets someone, he looks them in the eyes, not through a screen. He listens longer than he speaks, because he's learned that real power often hides behind silence. He's not chasing followers, he's building gravity. The kind of unseen pull that draws the right people without ever needing to call them. That's the quiet charisma of self-contained energy, the confidence that doesn't need an audience to exist. Every day, people lose themselves trying to be seen by others. But he's found himself by disappearing. He's understood something the modern world forgot. Privacy is power. The less they know, the less they can take. The quieter you move, the longer you last. There's an elegance in his restraint. While others announce their every intention, he lets outcomes speak. While they post their potential, he lives his. His results appear out of nowhere because no one saw the work. And that invisibility, strategic, deliberate, becomes his shield. You can't envy what you can't see. You can't attack what you can't find. You can't manipulate what doesn't need you. That's what makes him untouchable. He lives by an ancient principle. Move in silence, let your presence make the noise. And the world, blinded by its addiction to visibility, never sees him coming. But behind that calm exterior, there's a deep philosophy, a kind of quiet rebellion against the modern condition. He's not just escaping social media. He's escaping the illusion that you must constantly prove your worth to be worthy. He's rewriting the rules of existence. What if your life was valuable, even if no one saw it? He doesn't need to post his peace to feel it. He doesn't need to prove his growth to validate it. He doesn't need to perform his success to live it. He wins because his focus belongs entirely to himself. His mind, his time, his energy, no longer for sale. And when the lights of the digital world eventually fade, when the endless feeds go quiet and the noise finally dies, he'll still be there, working, thinking, living. Because while others chased attention, he built reality. That's the psychology of the man who doesn't need social media to win. He wins because he knows something the rest have forgotten. The loudest man in the room rarely holds the power. The quiet one watching does.